are 2 weeks from Selection Sunday, and the ACC regular season winds down. Number 25 Florida State visiting NC State at PNC Arena. It's the ACC on ESPN, and the stakes are high here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Alongside former Virginia star Corey Alexander, I'm Anish Shroff. Here we are getting ready for the ACC tournament in about a week and a half. NC State, if it wins out, would be a top 4 seed. That comes with a double bye, and Florida State still has a chance for the double bye as well.
And Virginia will be the number 1 seed, but that's the only thing that we know about the ACC tournament thus far. Everything else, there's a log jam in the middle, which makes this game even more important. Only one game separates NC State at the 5 seed and Florida State at the 9 seed, so a pivotal game, especially for the Seminoles, who want to see if they still can get in the mix with that double bye.
And for NC State, this is a team still very much on the bubble, looking to also strengthen its tournament resume. And underway here at PNC Arena, Florida State controls the tip. The Seminoles, winners of 2 straight, their first game in a week. They last played last Sunday, a home win against Pittsburgh. Ryan Angola doesn't hit anything, and Chris Kumaji was fouled. Foul is on Torin Dorn, his first.
And that's actually a good thing for NC State, because Omer Yurtseven has actually spent a little bit of foul trouble here recently, and so it's important to keep him on the court as we get opportunity to see Leonard Hamilton, who now with 301 wins in the ACC play is now 8th all time.
C.J. Walker misses from the outside. Omer Yurtseven, the 7-footer from Turkey, the rebound. And Markel Johnson, the maestro of this NC State offense. It's a 4-guard lineup that Kevin Keatts has been employing.
Well, and that's what he really wanted to be able to make happen all year. But, of course, missing Markel Johnson for 7 games during the beginning of ACC play really caused the Wolfpack to struggle, but they've got things going in the right direction as Yurtseven comes up with his first basket on the evening.
Yurtseven, 15 points per game in conference play. That leads NC State.
You see, interesting matchup. Braxton Beverly, I don't know if that was a switch, but he's actually guarding Phil Kofer, which would be a tough matchup. As Brian Angola gets smacked on the arm, going up for 2 there. The opportunity to look at Kevin Keatts in his first season at NC State, who is still a ACC Coach of the Year candidate. He's done a tremendous job here with the Wolfpack.
In season 1, he comes to Raleigh. He beats Duke and Carolina. That wins you currency with fans right away. This team picked to finish 12th in the ACC. They had won 9 league games the previous 2 seasons. And to have them in position for a double bye, it sounds absurd.
But Kevin Keatts is a great coach, but there's a lot of talent that was left in this program. And when you look at it, and he did a very good job recruiting. But Markel Johnson is a sophomore. Torin Dorn was here last year. Omer Yurtseven was recruited by Mark Godfrey. There was a lot of talent left in this program, and Kevin Keatts has done a tremendous job getting the best out of that talent.
Here's Al Freeman, grad transfer from Baylor. He's led NC State in scoring in the last 3 games, all wins. Yurtseven against the double team. Braxton Beverly the 3, left that one short. Offensive rebound Freeman. Beverly had a big game Tuesday against BC, 5 of 6 from 3.
Well, and you talk about the game on Tuesday, Yurtseven actually getting the tip in early in this game. NC State started out 0 for 8 from the field and had 6 turnovers to start the game against Boston College. So 4 points on the board already. It took close to 8 minutes to see them score and on Tuesday, but once they started scoring, it happened early, quickly and often.
Won that game by 13. Terrence Mann tipped back, and here comes Markel Johnson zooming up court. Johnson, since coming back from a felony assault charge that was dismissed, has averaged 9 assists per game. Dorn off the nice feed from Freeman, and Al Freeman starting to trust his teammates more the second half of the season.
I believe that Al Freeman has been the biggest recipient of the 4-guard lineup, with him coming in and Torin Dorn moving down to the 4 position opens things up for Freeman to be able to put the ball on the floor and make plays individually. but still be able to do it within the concept of what Kevin Keats wants for his team.
Yurt 7, he can knock it down from there over Kumaji. Deposit slip for the big man from Byzantium. The Turkish banks are open on Sunday, Corey.
I see. And when you look at that bank, and it's really not that big of a deal that he banked it in, as we say, Angola go to Kumaji. Very seldom will you see your 7 have to shoot over a bigger guy. But when you have to shoot over Kumaji, you might need a little extra arc. So I'm giving your 7 the pass on having to go off glass on that last shot. Top of the key. You see he's got to get a little extra arc on that one to get it over top of Kumaji, using the glass. And speaking of over the top, Brian Angola finding Kumaji for the easy 2 points.
Easy to find Kumaji, 7'4", junior from Chad, the African country. Last foul was on Brian Angola. Johnson splits the D. Left hand off the tin. Yurt 7 fighting for the rebound. And it's going to go the other way. They get a foul on Yurt 7, who has really come into his own as a sophomore. He flirted with the NBA draft last year, and coming back to school was a phenomenal decision.
But just like that, you see how important it is for Kevin Keats to keep Yurt 7 out of foul trouble. As soon as he picks up that first foul, immediately goes to Abu and Leonard Freeman coming in now, a more traditional lineup with 2 bigs on the floor. But with those 2 bigs, NC State still can pick up its full court pressure. Abu and Freeman both move very well.
Here is Terrence Mann, leading scorer for Florida State. Angola off with the jumper, and his shooting slump continues. We get a foul on the floor, a fast start by the Wolfpack, while Florida State has missed 6 of 7.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Skittles, Taste the Rainbow, and Sam Adams, fill your glass.
They will meet again Saturday, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Duke and North Carolina both playing really well right now. Virginia wrapped up the ACC regular season title with a win against Pittsburgh yesterday. You did that game. UVA held Pitt to 7 points in the first half.
Don't remind me. When you have to call that, you sit there and watch that happen.
One field goal right in the first half.
1 for 22 from the field for Pitt, which is the lowest field goal percentage, I believe, in the shot clock era history in the first half.
Outside of the one time you watched me shoot on a basketball court, was that the worst half of basketball
when I
you've
said
witnessed?
Don't remind me, that I was talking more about that than even yesterday. Please don't ever remind me again of you shooting. I am still scarred from that.
But outside of that, was that the worst half of basketball that you had witnessed in person?
You know, here's the thing. Virginia's done it before. Virginia did it to Harvard a couple seasons ago, holding Harvard to 8 points in the first half.
That's right.
And they were 1 for 20 from the field. So, you know, it was a struggle. And
Virginia's defense had a lot to do with it.
Virginia's defense always has a lot to do with everything. I mean, it's unreal as to what they do on the defensive end of the floor.
After misfiring on the lob, here comes C.J. Walker. Looking for help. Allen, a former pitcher in the San Francisco Giants organization. And we get a foul underneath on Florida State.
I believe we actually may have gotten a 3-second
Three-second
violation right there.
Excuse me.
But that's how rare it is to see a 3-second violation in the game right now. Ike Obiagu posting up, trying to get the basketball in the lane, not recognizing how long he was in there. And Florida State now making more wholesale changes as they're going to try to actually pick up the pace versus NC State, which very few teams are willing to do. But Florida State doesn't have a problem going out and trying to pressure NC State, seeing if they can force them to turn the basketball over, which, of course, is the forte of the Wolfpack.
Well, this is a hockey arena, and that was a line change by Leonard Hamilton, subbing out 5 players. Beverly off the window. It's tipped back. Here comes MJ Walker, freshman, McDonald's All-American. His pass picked off by Freeman. Freeman coming off back-to-back 20-point games. Knocks it down from 3.
And that's been the difference with the Wolfpack. The way they've shot the three-pointer, especially here at home, has been the change in the season for Kevin Keats. And, of course, when you have a point guard like Markel Johnson finding his teammates, that's another area where they've really been able to pick up their offensive production.
Kofor against Freeman, 2 of the most improved players in the league. And we get a foul.
And Al Freeman, who comes up with the defensive play and then turns it into points on the other end of the floor. A great screen by Leonard Freeman. Freeman and Freeman hooking up, and Al knocking down the 3. Actually going to review, looks like the previous possession on the foul by Abu. We'll sort it out when we come back. NC State 12-4.
With Corey Alexander and Anish Shroff, NC State with a 12-4 lead on Florida State at the 14:34 mark of this first half. Going to see who that last foul was on. It was originally called on Abdul Malik Abu, the senior from Boston. The foul will still be on Abu.
And Florida State off to a sluggish start, which they've actually got off to a slow start versus Pitt and Clemson in their last 2 games. Were able to come back and win those games. They've been a second-half team, but they can't afford to do that here against NC State, because NC State is a team that has continually been better and better as the game wears on into the second half.
There's Fiondu. Cavangeli through the contact, and he'll get to the line, something he did 11 times in the win against Pittsburgh.
And actually made 9 of those free throws for ACC career high 13 points for Cavangeli, and Leonard Hamilton getting Cavangeli onto the floor early, recognizing that he's probably their best offensive option in the post. Kamaji, of course, has the size advantage and is able to take advantage of that often. But Cavangeli, with his ability to move around the basket and shoot the basketball, probably is a better offensive option. And with Florida State starting the game off 1 for 7 from the field, I'm sure Coach Hamilton, knowing that he's got to get some scoring on the court, which is the reason why Cavangeli's made an early entrance.
Brian Angola back in for Florida State. He's the Seminoles' leading scorer in conference games, and they've got to get him going down the stretch. 7 for his last 32 entering today, and more concerning, he went from being a lights-out three-point shooter to somebody who's in a 1 for 17 slump from 3.
But the craziest part about that, Anish, they've won 2 straight games without him playing well, and that just speaks to the depth of this Florida State team. Trent Forrest, MJ Walker, PJ Savoy, all these guys have stepped up their production. So when Coach Ham makes a total line change, it really doesn't matter because he's bringing talented players on the floor.
How about Torin Dorn strong to the basket to draw the foul?
If you want to talk about someone that is playing great basketball right now, Torin Dorn would be one of those guys. The move to the 4 position and really the 4th guard for NC State, and putting Torin Dorn to where he has an advantage going up against power forwards has really allowed him to even excel even more so. He's the only guy thus far that has started every game of the season for Coach Kevin Keats.
Dorn averaging 13 in conference, and last year his first with the team after transferring from UNC Charlotte, had to sit out a year. He played well in non-conference. The production dropped off in ACC play. Far more comfortable in league games this year.
I believe he's been better in league play this year than even he was in non-conference, which was very good. But he has been the one constant for this NC State team all season long that Kevin Keats can rely on game in and game out.
There's that press. Down low, Cavangeli. That's on yard 7. That's 2. It is, so 2 fouls early on Omer Yurtseven.
And a smart play by Cabin-Gelly, recognizing Yurtseven is a shot blocker, and the shot blockers normally are going to jump. He gets Cabin-Gelly into the air. As the fans here at PNC Arena look at the replay, and they're thinking that there was not contact or not enough contact on that possession for it to be a foul. And you see, it wasn't a lot of contact on that one. It does look like Yurtseven does a good job going straight up in the air, but
here comes Johnson, averaging almost 9 assists per game since his return. So quick.
But you see
More out of Cleveland.
what he does is a great job of probing the middle of the floor, and what he doesn't do, which gets a lot of point guards in trouble, he doesn't pick up his dribble. He continues to keep that dribble alive.
Freeman draws the contact and will shoot 2 with 3 on the shot clock. That's 2 fouls on Angola.
And Pat Driscoll had no choice but to call that foul. After the foul on Yurtseven, I don't even know if Pat Driscoll called that, but after the foul on Yurtseven on the prior possession, this place would have gone nuts if that foul did not get called on Al Freeman.
Freeman was a 2-year starter at Baylor for Scott Drew. He was on Baylor's Sweet 16 team a year ago, a 5th-year senior, 23 years old. And early in the year, he was sort of the alpha offensively for NC State. How much better has his shot selection been over the last 10, 11 games?
Well, it's been much better, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's now going out and playing with 3 other guards on the floor, which allows the floor spacing to be better for Al Freeman to try to make individual plays. He's the one guy that can really make plays off the dribble and create shots for himself.
Cabin-Gelly does not get the bounce, but he'll go back to the free throw line. And he's been taking the ball to the basket, and the fouls are starting to pile up for NC State.
Well, and of course, the fans here at PNC Arena, they didn't like the last one, and I can understand the last one, but this clearly was a foul. Cabin-Gelly attacking the basket, and he's not just attacking in the paint. He's attacking from 25 feet away and showing off just a bit of his skill, putting the ball on the floor.
Our last big Monday before championship week on ESPN. First at 7, 5th-ranked Duke travels to Blacksburg. Marvin Bagley returned over the weekend in a win against Syracuse. It'll be Duke, Virginia Tech, and then Kansas and Texas. The Jayhawks yawn, have won at least a share of their 14th consecutive Big 12 title.
When you do your yawn, you got to at least yawn. Don't say the word.
Too much coffee pregame, brother. Johnson maneuvering through traffic.
And Markel Johnson really isn't taking a lot of shots. He's doing more so facilitating for NC State, but he's a very capable scorer, especially once he gets going downhill.
Cabin-Gelly has been the offense for Florida State.
Remember when I said Coach Ham put Cabin-Gelly in the game for offense? Now you recognize I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, huh?
This late in the season, it was bound to happen, Corey.
Yeah, every now and then.
I'm going to use one of your analogies. You shoot enough, you make a few.
Okay, well, that doesn't apply for everyone, because I've seen you shoot too many to not make one.
Foul is on Leonard Freeman, so the NC State bigs, Freeman, Yurtseven, and DeBoo, all with 2 fouls.
And Florida State already in the bonus. And Cabin-Gelly with the box out here. That's another one of those 50-50 plays there. Again, honestly, I think that's one, and Kevin Keith's expression says it all. I think it would be better served if there were no call on that play. There was contact, but I'm not sure if it was Cabin-Gelly or Freeman who gained an advantage on that possession. Probably better to have been a no call. But yet, Florida State with an opportunity at the bonus. I mean, in the bonus right now to be able to put points on the board at the free throw line.
Florida State only has 2 field goals. 6 of their points have come from the free throw line. 4 of those by Fiondu Cabin-Gelly, a nephew of the Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo. Missed that one to rebound it to Torin Dorn. Dorn down the lane over man, count it, plus the foul.
And that's a smart play by Torin Dorn. Recognize the climate of the game, the way things are being called, putting the ball on the floor, forcing the officials to make a call, but more importantly for Torin Dorn, going and getting a bucket, going at one of the strongest guards in the ACC. Torin Dorn can flex a little bit too.
Super Tuesday on ESPN has a good one from just down the road. In Chapel Hill, it's Miami and 10th-ranked North Carolina. Corey, the Heels had lost 3 straight. The sky was falling. Now they've won 6 straight, and look every bit the team that can make a deep run in March.
They really do, and you see NC State picking up on the defensive end of the floor. Great call by Coach Keats out of the timeout to go with the pressure off the made free throw, and they're rewarded with the basketball because of it.
Off of Terrence Mann, it'll stay with the Wolfpack.
And one thing, Anish, we have to mention, Florida State, in their last 2 wins over Clemson and at home over Pittsburgh, have gotten off to slow starts in the first half and made huge comebacks in the second half. But having to play here against NC State, this is a team that when they get a lead, they can punish you. Braxton Beverly just a little far right on that one, but of course having to shoot over top of Kamaji can make any shot difficult.
7'4" when you throw in the shadow. That's tough. Man, lobs it to Kamaji above the rim.
And that's the threat and the danger of pressuring Florida State, is when they break it in a 2-on-1 scenario with Kamaji on the backside, there is nothing as a defense that you can do, especially for Coach Keats, who's playing with Leonard Freeman at 6'8", is his biggest player on the floor right now.
Kamaji out to guard Markel Johnson. Beverly from the corner, short. Kamaji cleans up. Walker accelerates down court. Offensive rebound, Kofor, no good. Beverly the other way. Braxton Beverly hits the off-balance layup. Forrest baseline. Up top man, contested 3, no good. Battle for the rebound taken by Forrest. Again to Kamaji, just throw it up for Mr. 7'4".
But what is not recognized there is that's your point guard, Trent Forrest, getting in the mix, coming up with the offensive rebound. And he's a great offensive rebounder. When you put him on the floor with C.J. Walker, he has the responsibility of being able to go to the offensive glass and does a great job at it, coming up with multiple possessions.
Dorn, man comes away with it. Kofor. Count the basket plus the foul.
We knew this pace could get frantic, and we've seen just a bit of that here. Terrence Mann to Kamaji on the break, and then Braxton Beverly going 1-on-3, not concerned about the numbers. And again, Trent Forrest, the offensive rebound, finding Chris Kamaji over the top. Phil Kofor taking advantage of his opportunities on the break, and that's actually the first half basket that Phil Kofor has had in the last 3 games.
Now he's had big second halves.
He's had huge second halves, but had not scored in the first half of his last 2 games. And I actually asked him today, are you going to play in the first half today? He told me that he would be ready. It took him a while to get started, but now he's on the board 10 minutes in.
Seminoles looking to cut into a 6-point deficit. And the MO has been attack the paint. Not this time. P.J. Savoy. Allen fighting for the rebound. And he stepped out of bounds. But outside of that last Savoy 3-pointer, all of Florida State's baskets have come from inside or at the free throw line.
And you see Leonard Hamilton calm as can be, and Coach Ham not concerned at all about the pace of this game because he trusts that his team can actually come into this building and win playing at this pace. So he's not concerned about how fast the game gets.
Good matchup here, man against Freeman. Now Leonard Freeman poked away. Kumaji sets the screen for Walker, gets it back, not this time. Johnson lines it up, knocks it down. He is shooting 45% from three in league games.
And that's one of the things we talked about earlier. He doesn't take a lot of shots, but he is a more than capable scorer. He just picks his spots, recognizing most of the times it's best for him to be a facilitator. That time he knew it was time for him to be a scorer, especially on the break. Couldn't pass up a great looking three.
C.J. Walker kisses it off the window for two.
Strong take by C.J. there. Just tried to quiet this crowd a little bit, but a great crowd here at PNC tonight, and one of the most passionate fan bases in college basketball here for the Wolfpack.
We continue to see Kumaji guarding the perimeter. Leonard Freeman on the inside. And they'll get him for an offensive foul, I believe. Layup is good. No foul on the play. Layup is good. It looked like Pat Driscoll had signaled an offensive foul.
There maybe was a stoppage thinking that Kumaji hit the basketball for a goaltend. Because Kumaji did actually go up, but the basket went in anyway, so maybe they were just letting us know that it was good. It would have been a goaltend regardless. And I say maybe because I really don't know what happened on that one.
There's Trent Forrest for Florida State. Less than 8 minutes to play here in this opening half. And Forrest, who's known as a defender, has brought some scoring punch of late.
He really has, averaging 14 points per game over his last 2 games. But most importantly, making clutch shots and big plays, just like Markel Johnson has done in the last few possessions here for the Wolfpack.
He has been a game changer for NC State since his return.
You know, I come in, of course, expecting to talk about how Markel Johnson is putting up Chris Corciani-like numbers with his assists, and all of a sudden he wants to be a scorer. Not that Corciani couldn't do that too.
Freeman. Omer Yurtseven back into the game with the 2 fouls. Three-pointer off the mark by Savoy. Johnson, Al Freeman.
Markel Johnson doing it all, scoring, and of course finding his teammate Al Freeman lining it up for 3. The 13-point lead for the Pack.
Corey Markel Johnson has been controlling this game with his speed and decision-making.
And he's also been scoring 8 points for Markel Johnson. We're used to coming in talking about how much he's been a difference maker and finding his teammates and averaging, of course, over 9 assists a game since he's been back in his return. But he's been a scorer here today and has scored or assisted on 9 of the last 11 points for NC State and continues to make this team better.
Johnson started at point guard for the first 10 games, then missed 7 after a felony assault charge. He rejoined the team in mid-January after the charges were dropped. That first game back, not much of a factor. That was a loss to Virginia. Since then, he has really taken control of this offense. And NC State since Johnson's return, 7-4.
And what he's been able to do is free up the scorers for NC State to be that. Braxton Beverly now can be a shooter. He doesn't have to worry about being a point guard and facilitator. Al Freeman can do the same. Torrin Dorn can do his job. Markel Johnson's return pretty much put everyone back in space. But remember, Markel Johnson was on the court and playing well when this NC State team beat Arizona over in the Bahamas. So this team was playing well with him on the court. Of course, the first game that he was suspended, they lost to UNC Greensboro here in this building. You can see how much of a difference maker he has been.
Here comes Mann. Blocked by Yurt-7. Mann got it back. 5 to shoot. 4 on the shot clock. Florida State ball.
And with him playing actually against Boston College in their last game, Markel Johnson had then completed 75% of the team's games, so he was able to now be considered in league stats, and he immediately became first in the ACC in assists, but it's also third in steals, so he's getting it done on both ends of the floor.
Here comes Johnson again. Sam Hunt bumped on the drive. He doesn't drive off it.
What is Sam doing? Sam is a three-point shooter. Sam, stay away from going inside that line. He's actually going to get some free throws on this one, so actually it was probably a good decision, but I don't like seeing Sam going in there. He's allergic to the paint, man. Stay outside and knock down threes.
Coming into this game, Hunt had taken 118 shots. How many do you think were two-pointers?
Well, now, that's not fair.
Just take a guess. It's probably higher than the number you have in your head.
Well, no, it's not, because I get the game notes too, so therefore I know exactly what the number is. But I will tell you this, he has made 10 of his last 13 three-point shots that he's taken. So I know how high the number is, but I'm going to let you tell America what the number is, because I doubt many people will believe how many of his shots are actually three-point attempts.
106 out of 118.
I told you he was allergic to the paint. He starts sneezing when he gets in there.
Wolfpack ball. NC State with a lead at 15 now. Kevin Keatts' team playing with confidence. They've won 3 in a row. The last time NC State won 4 straight ACC regular season games, 2006.
Where were you in 2006?
I was in Yakima, Washington. Abdul Malik Abu off the window, and a chance to extend this lead further.
And Kevin Keatts having to trust his seniors, Abu and Leonard Freeman, both in foul trouble, but still trusting these guys to be able to get out there and give them quality minutes on the interior, on the floor. And again, it's Markel Johnson finding Abu over the top. Abu with their strong body able to finish as NC State continues its stellar first half play.
Phil Kofer picked up his second foul. Kumaji getting ready to check in for Florida State. Here comes Forrest against Abu.
That's going to be 3 on Abu, I believe.
It is.
Trent Forrest trying to get to the rim.
And that is now 10 team fouls on NC State. So Florida State will shoot 2 for the final 4:48 of this first half.
Florida State has had its struggles throughout the season, and this is a team that we've seen go out and beat some of the best. They have wins over 4 ranked teams this season. And then, of course, they also have losses at Wake Forest. They were blown out at Notre Dame. But a team that, of course, can win on the road, went and beat Florida when they were a top 5 team in the country, was able to go down to the Swamp and knock off the Gators. So this team has often played to the level of its competition. And that's why I honestly thought that coming into this game, they would be rare and ready to go to take on this NC State team. And not to say that they won't still be in this game, because this Florida State team is a better second half team. But I was expecting a much better first half from this group, recognizing how important that this game is. not only for their ACC seeding chances, but also their NCAA tournament chances.
Little rainbow over Kumaji, no pot of gold, but Renard Freeman comes away with it. Now Torin Dorn. They get a foul on Florida State. Corey, something Leonard Hamilton has employed tonight. He's been putting a big to guard the perimeter. Why?
Well, for the length. Simply to be able to have a bigger player guarding, but a lot of the reason why that happens is because Florida State does a great job of switching defensively. So he doesn't mind if Chris Kumaji gets switched off onto a Markel Johnson, because Kumaji can cover up so much space with his length. And of course, if Markel Johnson is able to try to go to the rim, Kumaji's going to have an opportunity to try to block that shot.
The foul on Kabengele, his second. 19 team fouls between the two teams in this first half. Just in case you had plans tonight. Johnson, well, let's make it an even 20. That's P.J. Savoy.
Well, the game has been called tight. I mean, again, and I'm not saying that any of these calls have been wrong by the officials, but it has been called tight. The smallest contact has been called, which is the reason why there have been 20 fouls in this game. And of course, a lot of these calls in the eyes of the fans here at the PNC Arena haven't been good ones, especially the one where year 7 got the foul. They're still talking about that one. But again, I think that the game, regardless, has still been called evenly. I don't think it's been consistent. That's the only thing that you can ask for from officials, is if you're going to make the call on one end of the floor, make sure you make it on the other end. And I think they've done a very good job of doing that.
Pat Driscoll, Ron Groover, and John Higgins, the officials tonight. Allen sets the screen for Forrest. Now another screen by Kumaji. I like that pick and roll with Chris Kumaji tonight. Allen lays it in for two. Brandon Allen, the fifth-year senior.
And Brandon Allen is always ready to play. He doesn't know game by game if his number is going to be called or not, but when it is, he normally comes in and gives Coach Hamilton a strong lift off the bench. And that's the only thing you can ask for a guy who's playing inconsistent minutes, is to give you that energy.
Here comes Dorn over Allen, and NC State has its largest lead.
Strong is the only way to describe that move from Torin Dorn right there. Brandon Allen did a great job defensively getting in the right position. Torin Dorn just used his strength to be able to muscle right through.
Savoy off the back rim. Now Freeman kisses it off the window. 43-25, NC State.
And you see, this is NC State basketball. The Wolfpack lead the ACC, forcing 15.3 turnovers a game. And they have the crowd on their feet. Al Freeman doing a great job playing the passing lanes, turning defense into offense, as the grad transfer from Baylor has found a home here in Raleigh.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by insurance, auto and home insurance for the modern world.
It has been a complete first half for NC State. 56% from the field, only 2 turnovers. And Florida State without a field goal outside of the paint in this first half.
And not just that, 7 turnovers for Florida State thus far. So only 5 assists. And in the last 6 games for NC State, only one opponent has had more assists than turnovers in a game versus them. That was Virginia Tech, and they lost for the Wolfpack at Virginia Tech. But Kevin Keith's defensive style is really starting to be able to manifest with this team. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he has those 4 guards on the court now.
Kumaji on the inside, and that's been the best play. Throw it inside to the 7'4" big fella.
But that's turnover number 8 on that possession for Florida State, and another empty possession that allows NC State to be able to come down the floor and build their lead.
Yeah.
Because Florida State just isn't getting opportunities at the rim.
How about Dorn? No foul. 20-point lead.
An 11-0 advantage for NC State, and points off of turnovers as Torren Dorn is able to add to that total.
Back inside, and Kumaji hits the turnaround. Kumaji's got 8. He leads Florida State 4 of 4 from the field.
Well, the only two guys that really have had effective offensive games for Florida State are Kumaji and Cavangeli. Both those guys have actually had some success, but none of these lethal guards for the Seminoles have had any success at all on the offensive end of the floor.
Foul is on C.J. Walker, his second. Both teams in the double bonus. Kevin Keats came to NC State from UNC Wilmington, and the blueprint there: pressure defense, shoot threes, and low turnovers. And he inherited a roster here in Raleigh from a personnel standpoint, not the pieces he was used to playing. How has he been successful making this work so quickly?
Well, not all the pieces he's used to playing. One thing that he didn't have at UNC Wilmington was a guy like Amir Yurtseven. And so when you have a guy like that on the inside and that is also capable of making threes, he does make life easier. But Markel Johnson actually was a backup to the ACC's Rookie of the Year last year in Dennis Smith Jr. And when you have to play against a guy like that every day in practice, you're going to get better. And Markel Johnson had a good freshman year for a backup, but he has been a star with the Wolfpack, especially since returning from his suspension over the last 7 to 8 games, and he has really been a difference maker with this team. So there were pieces here, but Braxton Beverly, who of course was recruited by Coach Keats, you know, it was a piece that he added, as well as LeVar Batts, Al Freeman, the grad transfer. So Coach Keats added some pieces, but he's done a tremendous job of meshing this group together, especially at this point in the season, to make them a strong contender in the ACC.
Nobody expected this in Keats' first season, as NC State calls a timeout, up 46-29. And credit to the coaching staff. How many times have we seen in college sports and sports in general, a coach comes in, this is what I do, doesn't matter the personnel that I have, you have to adapt to me, where Keats has struck a balance. I'm going to bring some of what I do, but realizing that he's got to work around guys like Leonard Freeman and Abu and Yurtseven, play to their strengths a little bit, find that balance to make sure they feel like they're a part of this process too.
I'm going to tell you the biggest key to that piece for Kevin Keats, Torren Dorn. Torren Dorn bought in from day one with Coach Keats, and when you have a guy that's in your program already but adapts to the system that you want to be able to bring in and goes out on a consistent basis and gives it to you every day, that's the type of guy that you need to be successful. And Torren Dorn has had a strong first half. And when I say strong, I mean grown man strong. Because when you can go at Terrence Mann and finish through that contact, and then take on Brandon Allen and finish at the rim, and oh yeah, it doesn't matter, the 7'4" Chris Kumaji, I'll go at him too. That's a lot of strength by Torren Dorn.
11 points for Dorn in this first half. About a 10-second differential between shot clock and game clock. Last touch, NC State. Shot clock is off, 21 seconds. Florida State still without a basket from outside the paint. Walker down the lane, high up off the glass. And here comes NC State. It's Dorn. Pulls up. Dorn hits! And Beverly goes over the scores table. The heart's there, the hustle's there, and the scoreboard, Corey, tells the story, and so does that stat.
Yeah, Florida State 0 points outside of the paint in this first half, but the Wolfpack have done it all. This is the most points that Florida State has trailed by in a first half all season. We'll see if they can come back from this.
Halftime here at PNC Arena, and NC State thoroughly dominated the first 20 minutes. They shot the ball well, they hit threes, they got to the free throw line, they played defense, and they've got a 19-point halftime lead. Anish Shroff, Corey Alexander, little to find. Can't find much wrong with NC State in that first 20 minutes.
No, you can't. They had a very balanced effort. Everyone that stepped on the floor for NC State scored. They had 8 players play, 8 players scored, and they got production from everyone. Al Freeman knocking down the three-pointer. Yurt 7 using the glass to knock down the three. Torn Dorn continued to attack the basket time and time again. And then, of course, Markel Johnson, normally the setup man, was even a bigger scorer in the first half. And Braxton Beverly with a little bit of a trick shot on the offensive end of the floor. And all the scoring allowed NC State to be able to pick up their defensive pressure and apply the 94-foot press. And it helped them to force 8 turnovers for Florida State in the first half, and they were able to actually take an advantage, 11-0 points off turnovers in that first half, and you see all the stats in this game, and these are lopsided toward the Wolfpack.
Florida State has not hit a shot from outside the paint. What does Leonard Hamilton have to do at halftime? What adjustment does he have to make to jumpstart this offense?
I'm not sure really if it's something that he needs to do to jumpstart the offense. I think their defense has been the problem. When NC State is scoring every time down the floor and Florida State unable to get any stops, that takes the energy out of their team.
The Seminoles have been here before. They've had some halftime deficits and came back to win against Pitt, Clemson, and Louisville. Can they do it tonight? 25th ranked Florida State ran into a buzzsaw in that first half here at PNC Arena. And the Seminoles' top 2 scorers, Terrence Mann and Brian Angola, just 2 points. This has been a troubling trend for Leonard Hamilton.
It has been, and these are his top 2 scorers, but in ACC play, actually, Phil Cofer has been a bigger scorer than both those 2 guys. And Florida State needs for them to be successful. Now, Leonard Hamilton doesn't have to rely on 1 or 2 guys to score every time out, but he has to get production from everyone, as NC State has done here this evening. Florida State, without Mann and Angola, really have struggled to be able to get things done on the offensive end of the floor. We'll see if the second half fortunes change for the Seminoles, where they've been a better team as of late, but yet they've dug themselves a huge hole after that first half.
Beverly wide open in the corner. There's a foul underneath as Cofer hit the deck. Or rather, Angola hit the deck, and they'll get Angola on the foul, and that is 3 on Brian Angola.
And John Higgins right on top of that call. Angola trying to take the charge, but he was inside of the restricted area. Actually, he gets outside of that area.
And did he establish legal guarding position in time?
It looks as though he did, and Higgins actually pointed to the floor, recognizing, saying that it was the restricted area.
And Johnson hits the 3. Largest lead of the night for the Wolfpack.
And that's a big play, because that's actually the 3rd foul on Angola, who's probably the best on-ball defender for Florida State. So, you know, he was trying to make a team play there and is not rewarded for it.
C.J. Walker at the other end, and all of Florida State's baskets have come in the paint or from the free throw line. Yurt 7 on the pick and roll, lays it in. 9 points for Omer Yurt 7.
Nice pass there by Beverly. Braxton Beverly, until today, actually had not had a turnover in the last 97 minutes. Got one early in today's game, but he's been a much better ball handler with an opportunity to play with Markel Johnson on the floor. You see Beverly coming off and just threading the needle there to Yurt 7. And when you got a big guy that can catch the basketball like that, ooh, I like that angle. Forget the pass. Look at that camera angle. They're doing big things now.
Production values. Foul was on Torren Dorn, and that's 2 on Dorn. Brian Angola's shooting woes continue. He's 0 for 3, 7 for his last 35. Walker nearly lost it, now loses it. Beverly ahead to Dorn. Lays it in. Angola didn't want to pick up the 4th. Angola back down the other way, and maybe that's the basket that gets the shooter out of the slump.
Well, it always helps to see the ball go through the basket, so a big play there by Angola, but of course, Torin Dorn getting the job done again on the defensive end of the floor, picking the pocket of C.J. Walker and turning into more points off of turnovers for NC State.
Al Freeman to the line, the foul on Kumaji. Now, talking to Brian Angola before last Sunday's game against Pitt, he mentioned that he needed to see the ball go in. And he said, if I can get something off the steal or on a fast break, I think that can help me regain my outside shot.
Well, and that's the way it works for most shooters. And Angola, of course, is more than just a shooter. He's a guy that, of course, gets the job done defensively, but he likes to be able to find himself in a rhythm, and that's what doing the job defensively does. When you get those easy baskets and you get those layups, it opens up opportunities for you shooting the basketball amongst the threes.
Angola puts it on the floor past Yurt 7. Back-to-back baskets for the senior, who is from the South American country of Colombia.
But you see Angola has that in his repertoire as well, the ability to get to the rim, so he doesn't have to rely solely on the jump shot.
NC State gives it up.
Brian Angola off the screen and roll, attacking Yurt 7. And when he gets those shoulders in front of the big fella, it's difficult for Yurt 7 to be able to catch up and affect that shot. Trent Forrest taking over the point guard position. C.J. Walker not happy about having to go to the bench, but a turnover allowed NC State to score more points out in transition.
A lob for Kumaji is off the mark. NC State basketball.
And Trent Forrest immediately points over to the bench, taps himself on the chest, letting him know that's his fault. Even though as a point guard, you know, you have to learn the rules that even when it's not your fault, it's your fault. Because I used to hate having to swallow that pill. When I wanted to say, Coach, he didn't catch the ball, that's not on me.
I have a hard time believing you swallowed that pill.
I did, Anish. The team guy, team first, Anish. That's why I carry you so much.
Johnson's three, not there. Here comes Angola. Foul on the floor. It's on Beverly, and Brian Angola being the aggressor here in the second half.
Smart decision by Angola there to continue to keep the pressure on NC State's defense to get back. And the way that NC State likes to play, it's not like this game is out of reach for Florida State, because NC State wants to get up and down. They're not going to just take their foot off the gas pedal, which will continue to give Florida State opportunities on the offensive end of the floor.
Angola on the attack, dunks it with two. He scored the last 6 for the Seminoles.
But you see the energy is just a little bit different right now for Florida State. They're still in a big hole at 20 points down, but now you see them scrambling a little bit more out on the court. And if they can come up with some stops and try to cut into this lead, I believe it really can put and make NC State just a little more cautious.
Earlier this month, down big against Clemson, ended up winning that game in overtime. Dorn, baseline. Kumaji is there.
It starts with stops on the defensive end of the floor for the Seminoles, and then taking care of the basketball and trying to make plays on the offensive end of the floor. Phil Cofer there trying to make a play, but give Amir Yurt 7 a lot of credit for stepping in and taking the charge on that possession. And I'm sure people at home are watching and saying, wait a minute, how is that a charge on that possession, but not a charge on the other end of the floor when Angola stepped in to take the charge?
3 now on Cofer. Poked away by Forrest. Cofer remains in the game. Here comes Beverly. Johnson. Back to Beverly. Forrest into the corner. Angola unleashes a 3, and he is fouled on the attempt. Brian Angola starting to get his. Can Florida State mount a comeback?
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Sam Adams. Fill your glass.
Brian Angola starting to come out of his offensive slumber.
Well, Anish, you actually mentioned it. When you see the basketball go through the rim, it builds that confidence. And Brian Angola has actually seen it happen for him 3 times thus far here early in the second half, getting to the rim and getting the dunk, and then getting fouled on a three-pointer, opportunity to put points on the board at the free throw line, where he's a great free throw shooter, close to 90% in his career at Florida State. And if he's able to knock these down, now you're talking about a much more manageable distance to be able to come back. It's still a 20-point game, but when you look at the momentum of this, it's definitely been in the favor of the Seminoles coming out here in the second half.
Angola will shoot 3. He was fouled by Omer Yurtseven on a 3-point attempt, and you jinxed him this time.
No, that wasn't a jinx. I was just praising him for how great of a free throw shooter he's been. That's not a jinx, it's a difference.
Yurtseven picked up his 3rd foul.
And you were the one talking when he shot, so therefore that jinx goes on you.
What's that, like the backswing?
I mean, call it what you want. I just called it a niche jinx. However you want to call it.
Are you sure it's not Waldo underneath the basket?
Waldo would definitely throw me off.
You got the band members dressed like Waldo, too. And then you see the Waldo big head.
I was playing tricks on him. You know nothing about that, though. You know nothing about that. That's the Ghetto Boys back in the day. Scarface. That's beyond your time, Nish.
Damn, it feels good.
Oh, I hear you.
Torin Dorn. Angola is there. He's been everywhere. Angola takes it to the tin. Can't finish. Leonard Freeman, the rebound. Outlet to Dorn. Dorn. He has played, as you said, strong tonight. Kofor for 3. And Florida State still without a 3-point field goal.
And they've gotten their opportunities right there. A good look from Phil Kofor, a missed layup by Angola on the previous possession, and that's just a tough shot to get off. When you try to size up Chris Kumaji, it's not normally going to work out well for you.
Kofor on the inside, basket +1, and here comes Florida State.
And Florida State has found some momentum, but a missed opportunity there by Angola turns into another opportunity for Torin Dorn to be able to show off his muscle at the rim. But Trent Forrest finding Phil Kofor, who might want to flex on the and one opportunity.
Is Kofor the ACC's most improved player?
He's got a great chance. I think you also have to look at what TJ Gibbs has done at Notre Dame. Mark Gevin, what he's done at Notre Dame. I mean, Gevin with a 22 and I believe 22 and 11 performance.
That's a Bonzi performance.
It really is. I think both those guys have to be in the conversation. Of course, there's always going to be so many different players throughout the conference that have made huge leaps, but Phil Kofor has to be in that conversation, especially with the way that he's been able to help lead Florida State this year.
And a 10-second violation.
That is the right call, because here's the difference. Al Freeman does not have possession of that basketball when the shot clock hits 20 seconds. In the conversation right now between he and Ron Gruber, basically he's allowing Al Freeman to know that the ball was in the air and had crossed half court, but until it is actually touched and possessed by NC State, when that shot clock hits 20 seconds, it's a 10-second violation.
You have to establish position in the front court.
And you see when the shot clock hits 20, the ball is not in Al Freeman's hand. That's a great call by the officials. Unpopular call here, but it's the right call.
And the foul down low. Nobody's buying drinks for Pat Driscoll, Ron Gruver, and DeJohn Higgins tonight, but they've done their job. They've called it tight. But if you're going to call it tight, be consistent, and they have.
They have been very consistent in this game, and the way it's been called, the fouls that have been called on Florida State have been called on NC State and vice versa.
Abu picked up his 4th. Yurtseven with the 3 fouls back in for NC State. The lob to Kumaji.
And 15 points is a lot of points. It's a big lead. But you can just sense the momentum has swung in the favor of Florida State. here in the second half. We told you before, they have been much better in the second half than they have been in the first, but they dug a huge hole in the first half of this game.
3 not there for Beverly. Your 7 offensive board. Here's Hunt, the sniper, and he buries it. Forrest, Kumaji. The Wolfpack will push. Freeman over Forrest, good! Man lets it fly in and out. Kumaji wrestling for the rebound. And John Higgins says there is a foul underneath. It's going to be on Al Freeman, just his first.
Denise, we talked about the momentum swinging in the favor of Florida State, but that Uncle Mo, he's a tricky guy, because I can tell you right now, the Wolfpack have snatched it right back, and they were able to do so on back-to-back three-pointers. One by Sam Hunt, one by Al Freeman, and just like that, you get a beautiful chant. So polite here by the crowd here at the PNC Arena.
Kumaji picks up his second.
I tell you, Niece, this is one of the most fun places that I have the opportunity to come to, calling games. When I tell you that the fans here are the most passionate fans in the ACC. Now, it used to be a battle between NC State and Maryland. Now, with Maryland gone on to the Big Ten, the NC State fans have taken over, clearly the most passionate fans in the league. And now, as they have a true contender in the ACC, they continue to get better and better. One of my favorite places to be able to come to and call a game.
They hit a home run with the Kevin Keatts hire. It's season 1, but I don't think it's too early to say that.
I believe so, but the reason being is because he brings a different style. Kevin Keatts is not going to go out and try to play against the Dukes and the North Carolinas and Virginias the way that they play. He brings his own style, which he feels can be successful here at NC State, and thus far in year 1, it has been successful.
Beverly to year 7.
Now we got the turnover. Gelly steps over the line. But I can tell you right now, that's just like a great quarterback looking off the defensive back. A beautiful find from Braxton Beverly. Pretty much a look-away lob to Yurt 7 for the beautiful feed. Braxton Beverly looks off the defender. Terrence Mann going out to cover the perimeter.
Forrest the steal and the layup. But NC State has wrestled back the momentum. Dorn had it poked loose. It'll stay with the Wolfpack. You know, to your point about Kevin Keatts, when UNC Wilmington lost to Virginia in the NCAA tournament, that was a close game, and Tony Bennett remarked afterwards, there's not a team in the ACC that plays like this, and they presented such a matchup problem for a very good UVA team. Well, now there is a team in the ACC that's going to play like that.
You know, one of the things we talked about with the personnel at NC State is everyone from Florida State pretty much just left Al Freeman alone to get his easiest bucket of the night. Even though I think that Kevin Keatts has good talent here at NC State, he doesn't yet have his talent. I believe that they're going to continue to get better and better. He has a 5-player recruiting class. He's got Blake Harris transferring in from Missouri, but he also has Devin Daniels sitting out, and he's going to be a difference maker for the Wolfpack next year. I believe we'll see an even better Kevin Keatts style next season, but right now the style that he's applying at NC State is looking pretty good as Al Freeman gets an easy bucket as the Pack has had a pretty easy night.
Not far from here in Chapel Hill, that's the site for Super Tuesday. Number 10, North Carolina hosting Miami. The Heels have won 6 straight. Offense is clicking. Big game for Lonnie Walker. Game-winning 3 against BC on Saturday. Miami still jockeying for one of those top 4 seeds and a double bye in the ACC tournament, which begins in less than 2 weeks. Selection Sunday, 2 weeks from today. Virginia, they're the one sure thing. They have locked up the number 1 seed and the ACC regular season title.
But when you look at this and you see with 3 games remaining, or 2 games for most teams in the ACC, you have how many different teams there between 4 and 7 losses. So I think a lot could change over this week before we get to the ACC tournament.
Freeman kicks it out to Johnson. Shot clock at 4. Hunt knocks it down from the outside. He is now 12 of his last 15 for 3.
Now you see why I got on Sam for going to the basket in the first half. What's he doing inside the paint? Stay outside that arc. Continue to knock down threes.
Wow, he did get to the free throw line.
Man, forget that. They only count for 1.
Angola, he's looking to find that 3-point shot. Forrest has 10 tonight, 3rd straight game. He's been in double figures. Shot clock at 3. Forrest didn't want to launch over yard 7. Angola lets it go. And Johnson comes away with it.
And Nish, we talked about this last week. Florida State, is when they get in trouble at the end of the shot clock, it normally ends up with a late pass to Brian Angola. So we talk about his shooting slump. When he's having to take shots like that just to get a shot off at the end of the shot clock, that even hurts your percentage even more. I mean, I can remember in the NBA there were guys that when the buzzer was about to go off or the shot clock was getting away, you would actually wait to hear the buzzer go off before you shot it because you didn't want to shoot your field goal, hurt your field goal percentage that bad.
Now, was that you, or are you speaking for everybody?
At the end of quarters, I would not shoot from 75 feet. I would hold it for the buzzer and then let it go. No, at the end of a shot clock, that was my time to dance. Now, I'd like to get my 2-step on then. So I would love those type of opportunities. But I wasn't shooting a 75-footer and getting a 3-point field goal attempt for that at the end of a shot. I mean, at the end of a quarter.
Team player, right?
How long have I been carrying you? Yes, I am a team player.
Florida State 0 for 12 now from 3.
And this is, you know, honestly, it's been a different defensive game for NC State. They actually were giving up close to 50% field goal percentage to their opponents in ACC play, but they have locked in defensively here, taking away the 3 from Florida State. And a lot of that has to do with Florida State not making shots, unlike Sam Hunt, who continues to make threes. Sam, stay out the paint. Continue to do what you do.
If you put him in the Old West, quick trigger. He'd fit right in. 1800s Dodge City. As Forrest able to draw the foul. And that is 4 on yard 7. Sam Hunt, that's what he does. 90% of his shots are from 3.
And he knows it. That's the thing. He knows what he does, and so he's always prepared. And more importantly, he has a point guard like Markel Johnson who knows, oh, wait a minute, I got Sam open. Markel knows I get an assist for throwing the ball over there. This young man is shooting lights out right now. You want to be able to find Sam Hunt and get him looks.
13 of his last 16 from 3. A grad transfer from North Carolina A&T. He's from Greensboro. He began his career at Jacksonville, dreamed of playing in the ACC, and he has carved out a critical role on this team. You said it in the first half. One of the concerns for Kevin Keatts going into the season, and one of the concerns early in the season, was 3-point shooting.
And that's part of, we talked about Kevin Keatts' style. Kevin Keatts' style is being able to pressure 94 feet on defense, turn over the opponent, but more importantly, be able to turn that into points on the other end of the floor and spread the floor as we see Trent Forrest picking the pocket of Markel Johnson. That's not something you see often. That just goes to show you how great of a defender Trent Forrest is. Markel doesn't turn it over much, especially with somebody taking his cookies, but Trent Forrest is that good to where he can pick up 94 feet and turn it into points on the other end.
Forrest averages more than a steal a game, plays less than 25 minutes, and he told me early in the year, I enjoy playing defense last year. He was the first freshman to lead Florida State in steals since the former Heisman Trophy winner Charlie Ward.
Not bad. Played against that guy. Pretty good. Even better on the football field.
I was waiting for the jab.
No jab.
Okay.
I take no jabs at Charlie.
Because he had a nice long career in the NBA.
He had a great NBA career. And again, I think he could have had a great career as an NFL quarterback as well.
He was on the Knicks team that went to the finals, right? With,
he was.
Against the Spurs, yep. 5 to shoot. Freeman bumped by Obiagu. And a foul called on Ike Obiagu, the freshman.
You know, and Nish, we were talking about, you know, the difference in style of play. Tony Bennett said that there's no one that plays like that in the ACC. Coaches recognized when Kevin Keatts got this job that it was going to be a different style of play. Now, Kevin Keatts, of course, was an assistant coach for Louisville with Rick Pitino, and picked up a lot of the defensive pressure from Coach Pitino when Coach Pitino played 2 guards, Russ Smith, Peyton Siva in the backcourt, and they were pressuring 94 feet with a lot of trapping and a lot of attempts to turn the opponent over.
Sam Hunt! Forrest, offensive foul. So where is an acceptable heat check spot on the court for Sam Hunt?
Wherever he catches it, it doesn't matter. I know he has wolf range. And then on the other end of the floor, stepping in, taking the charge, and again, that's what Kevin Keatts wants. It's not guys that are only playing on one end of the floor. Sam Hunt, we know he's a great shooter, but he's got to get it done defensively as well.
Oh, the crowd chanting for Sam Hunt.
And Lennar Freeman wide open under the basket. Of course, they want to get the ball to Hunt.
5 to shoot, Al Freeman. Down the lane. Over Obiagu.
And Denise, this is not a front runner comment in any way or form, so I hope no one takes it that way. But when NC State gets going, they can get going like none other because they have so many guys on the court that can make threes and make plays that when they get hot, they often stay hot, and they've done that here at home. A 25-point lead for the Packers.
On its best nights this season, NC State has shown it can beat anybody.
Well, in NC State, when they get hot, they normally stay hot, knocking off Duke. Number 2 Duke here at home, but at least that was actually after a game. They lost by 30 at Notre Dame, and then, of course, going to North Carolina on January 27th. Al Freeman went 7 for 7 from 3 for a career-high 29 points. And so this team, when you look at what they've been able to do, 4 wins against ranked teams this year, but not just ranked teams, knocking off number 2 Arizona, knocking off number 2 Duke, beating Clemson here at home, and then at North Carolina. And then, of course, now an opportunity to knock off Florida State, who's ranked number 25 for a 5th-ranked win on the season. I think this is one of those wins that solidifies NC State as a NCAA tournament team.
They're a team on the bubble. In Joe Lunardi's projected field right now. Beverly trying to beat the shot clock, erased by Obiagu. Outlet to Angola on the other end, and he gets the roll. 80-57. It has been a blitz by the Wolfpack. Freeman blocked by Obiagu.
And Nisha, and more so on the point of them getting hot and staying hot, as we look at this team and where they could be moving forward. And we also know that if they are able to win out, they actually would get that 4th seed in the ACC tournament.
Yeah, also watch for, presented by Taco Bell. That is what the ACC tournament bracket would look like right now. Top 9 teams all get a bye. The top 4 get a double bye. And for NC State, you're right, if they win out, they would be, at the very least, the 4 seed. There's even a chance to be the 3 seed. And it would also mean 12 conference wins for NC State.
But can you imagine the Wolfpack getting hot like this in the ACC tournament? I mean, North Carolina State as a basketball program, has a history of playing great in the ACC tournament. And so, you know, this team on Tuesday night, for example, they started out the game against Boston College. They went 0 for 8 from the field and had 6 turnovers in the first 8 minutes of the game. From there, they made 13 straight shots, including 9 for 9 three-point field goals to finish the half, and were completely unstoppable for the remainder of that game.
They won by 13 and scored 88 points.
And again, that was it. But again, you would just take away the first 8 minutes of that game because they were horrible. Even the fans here thought they were horrible. They didn't boo, but they were on edge.
Now, they have had nothing but cheers tonight, except for the officials.
I was about to say, no, they had a few boos. Just wasn't toward their team.
23 points for Al Freeman, his 3rd straight 20-point game. And Terrence Mann scores. He's been quiet. They need to get him going down the stretch. Florida State has looked to Mann this year to be the guy, and he's been the lead dog for most of the season. Just 4 points, however, tonight.
And Nisha, I tell you what Kevin Keats wants in this program is you see the 4 guards that are playing right now with Markel Johnson, Beverly, Al Freeman, and Torrin Dorn. He wants to have this type of lineup with a guy like Yurt Seven in the middle, and then he wants a completely different group, exactly like it, coming off the bench to be able to do it full speed for 94 feet for 40 minutes or more, however long it takes. That's the way Kevin Keats feels as though he can compete with the Dukes and the North Carolinas, who are going to get the best players in the country year in and year out. But he feels as though he can go beat those teams by playing his style of play. And with what he's been able to do thus far in year 1, as he continues to develop his personnel and his personality becomes more and more, you know, consistent with this program, it's going to be tough to be able to beat the Wolfpack moving into the future.
How much of a stylistic advantage will that be in the ACC?
It will be to a great advantage against most teams. Now, when you play against Virginia, that's where it can become a problem because, again, one team that refuses to allow you to make it a fast game, get up and down the floor, is Virginia. And that was a great showing when you talk about what happened with Coach Keats when he was at USC Wilmington last year with the team playing his way compared to Virginia playing against them. And it was a great battle, but it was played at the pace of Virginia for most of it. But Keats was actually able to speed up Virginia in that game.
You mentioned Keats coached under Rick Pitino, and defensively, Keats borrows from that blueprint. But where are they different?
Well, honestly, I think that they're different from their offensive standpoint. I believe that Kevin Keats probably gives his guys on the offensive end a little more freedom than Rick Pitino did as a coach. But and I say that Kevin Keats coached under Rick Pitino, but Kevin Keats also played a very similar style at Hargrave when he was the head coach there, as a great head coach there at their post-grad program. So it really was his style. So that's why he was a great fit going to Louisville with Coach Pitino, because it was pretty much what he already liked to do.
LeVar Batts, the freshman from Concord, North Carolina, checks into the game. Terrence Mann through the contact. No foul. Freeman, he is blocked again, gets it back, flips it up toward the rim, and it's corralled by Ike Obiagu. If NC State takes this to the final horn, it'll be the Wolfpack's first 4-game win streak during regular season play in the ACC since 2006, when Herb Sendek was the head coach. And as we were telling you, if the Wolfpack win out and get one of the top 4 seeds in the ACC tournament, it would be the first time since 1974 that NC State would have 12 ACC wins, and the way that 74 season ended was pretty magical.
And they'll be at Georgia Tech on Thursday, and then come here against Louisville on Saturday to finish up the season. And you know, I've seen a lot of NC State in this building, and it's just hard to imagine that someone is going to come in here and beat them the way that the Wolfpack is playing right now.
Kevin Keats' team on their way, up 20, 3:22 left in regulation. Sports Center tonight on ESPN after 76ers Wizards. John Buchenbrouse, Kevin Connors have you covered. Tiger had his final round at the Honda today. Played pretty well. Does he have another major left in him?
I'm just glad he finished today. He made the cut. He was able to play through the whole tournament.
Appears to be healthier.
It's not hard to see that golf is more fun when Tiger's playing.
No question. How about Ike Obiagu being the eraser here in garbage time? He's had a few blocks. But on the scoreboard, Wolfpack dominating. Big Monday on ESPN. It is Duke in Blacksburg to take on Virginia Tech. And then Kansas hosting Texas. Allen Fieldhouse Jayhawks just clinched a share of a 14th straight Big 12 regular season title with a win against Texas Tech over the weekend. Florida State tonight, 67 points. 15 at the free throw line, 52 in the paint. 0 for 13 from 3 and no field goals from outside the painted area. No threes in the modern game is unthinkable.
I have to dare to say they're shooting a niche like.
I think I got lucky a couple times.
No, you didn't. I was there. You did not get lucky, ever. You missed every shot.
I missed every shot.
You might have made a layup, which is in the paint. So they're shooting a niche like is what I said.
Oh, man, you're not going to let me live that down ever.
Ever.
Well, the cylinder has been kind for NC State from downtown.
Now 13 threes made for NC State. And if they can continue to shoot the basketball this way, and I think the four-guard lineup for Coach Keats has really helped them space the floor and find their looks. And, of course, when you're shooting the basketball the way Sam Hunt, Al Freeman, and Braxton Beverly are, with a guy like Markel Johnson finding his shooters on the perimeter, you become a very dangerous offensive team.
It's been an impressive tour de force by NC State against the top 25 Florida State team. Yurt 7, the exclamation points. A big cheer went up as Spencer Newman makes his way to the scores table.
You know, Anish, one thing for NC State, they can't bring in a bunch of guys that haven't played because everyone pretty much on their roster plays consistent minutes. The only person that does not is Spencer Newman, which is easy for the crowd to be able to chant out, "We want Spencer," because Spencer's the only guy that hasn't checked in that's capable or eligible to play for the Wolfpack right now.
Newman has not scored a point in his career.
No one.
Daphne, Alabama.
There should be no one else shooting other than Spencer.
Well, that's what the crowd wants to see. If you're here right
Johnson
now,
was wrong. He should not shoot that. He just looked at Spencer and said, "I'm going to get you the ball." He should not have shot that floater. He should have thrown the ball to Spencer at all costs. Spencer, get in the shooting range.
instead it's LeVar Batts.
Oh, LeVar Batts isn't passing down his shots now. I'm going to tell you that right now. He gets his opportunities. LeVar Batts is putting it up.
The Corey Alexander School of Basketball. He is a devout student, I assume.
It's actually Corey Alexander Basketball School, but close.
Okay.
And you need it badly. We're going to start with four shots.
If I've got to go to a school where you're the teacher, no. I would be a troublemaker.
And that's really the kind of day it's been for Leonard Hamilton. And Coach Ham actually pretty much playing through pain right now, dealing with kidney stones. Actually had one removed the day they played North Carolina. Has had some complications over the last week. Wasn't with the team much this week. Returned to practice on Friday. And told me earlier today he almost didn't make this trip. And right now, it's been a tough day for Coach Ham.
Florida State has a big game Wednesday at Clemson and then finishes the season home against Boston College. You know, BC's been a dangerous team this year. Jerome Robinson, Kai Bowman can go off on any given night. And Clemson's a team that had a couple of recent struggles, rebounded to win over the weekend. They have found a way without Dante Grantham. Grantham's roommate, Gabe DeVoe, has really taken on a bigger role.
And also, remember, they missed Shelton Mitchell for 2 games.
Newman, almost.
You just wanted to say Newman,
I did.
Just,
I did.
Just your Seinfeld. That's your Seinfeld reference?
A hello Newman would have been.
Is that it? Okay. You know, I'm lost in Seinfeld, so that's the one area that I need you to lead me on.
Never saw a single episode?
No, I watched a couple episodes. This really wasn't my thing.
What about Curb?
Never watched a single episode of that. But I can tell you every episode of Friends, just so you know. Now, I believe there is chicken on the line here. I do know a Seinfeld reference, and I'll use it now. No chicken for you. Isn't that close? No soup for you, right?
Johnson will pull it back. The Wolfpack have won 4 consecutive regular season ACC games for the first time since 2006. NC State is about to hit 20 wins, 10-6 in conference, and 2 wins away from a double bye in the ACC tournament. What an opening act by Kevin Keats' team.
It has been a great second half of ACC play for NC State and Kevin Keats. Florida State inconsistent, but still an opportunity to get 10 wins in ACC play, but they're going to have a strong finish this week.
A 20-point win against a top 25 team. The Wolfpack keep roaring. Final score from Raleigh, 92-72. Women's gymnastics next on ESPN.